They say school is where dreams are built, but for some students, it's where dreams are quietly destroyed, with red ink, closed doors, and teachers who've already decided your future before you ever open your mouth. This is the story of Jamal Carter, a quiet, brilliant black student who did everything right, and Mr. Douglas Whitman, a powerful teacher who believed some kids simply didn't belong at the top. What happened between them would shake an entire school. And when the truth finally came out, no amount of authority could stop justice from walking into the room. Stay with this story because the ending proves one truth. When oppression overreaches, exposure is inevitable. Jamal Carter was used to being invisible, not because he lacked presence, but because people chose not to see him. At Roosevelt Preparatory Academy, a predominantly white, high-performing school, Jamal stood out the moment he walked into a room. Tall, dark-skinned, soft-spoken, always carrying a worn backpack filled with books instead of bravado. Teachers praised potential in private but rarely gave him opportunity in public. Still, Jamal believed in one thing: education was his way out. His mother, Denise Carter, worked double shifts as a nursing assistant. Every morning before dawn, she reminded him, "Outwork them, baby. They can't argue with excellence." And Jamal did exactly that. Straight A's, debate club, academic decathlon, late nights studying while the rest of the house slept. But the real challenge came in advanced placement U.S. history, taught by Mr. Douglas Whitman, a veteran educator with influence, tenure, and a reputation for being old school. From the first day, Whitman made Jamal feel unwelcome. He questioned Jamal's answers more harshly than others, dismissed his hand when raised, smirked when Jamal spoke about civil rights, slavery, or systemic racism. "Let's stick to facts, not feelings," Whitman would say, only when Jamal spoke. Jamal noticed something else too. White students who gave half answers were praised for critical thinking. Jamal, who cited textbooks and primary sources, was told he was overreaching. Still, Jamal kept pushing. The final exam was everything. College recommendations depended on it. Scholarships depended on it. His future depended on it. He studied harder than he ever had. When grades were released, Jamal stared at the screen in disbelief. D failing. His hands trembled. He knew it wasn't possible. But Whitman had already written the story, and Jamal was never meant to pass. Jamal approached Mr. Whitman after class, his exam clutched tightly in his hands. "Sir," Jamal said calmly, "I think there's been a mistake." Whitman barely looked up. "There's no mistake, Jamal, but I answered every question. Whitman cut him off, his voice low and sharp. "Listen," he said, leaning back in his chair. "Advanced courses aren't for everyone. You should be grateful you were allowed in this class at all." The words landed like a slap. Jamal swallowed. "Can we review the test?" Whitman sighed theatrically. "I don't have time to handhold. This isn't remedial history." When Jamal finally saw the exam, his heart sank. Correct answers were marked wrong. Essays with citations were dismissed as unsupported. One note in red ink stood out: "Lacks academic objectivity." Jamal knew what that meant. At home, Denise read the exam in silence. Her jaw tightened. "This isn't about your work," she said finally. "This is about him." But fighting back felt impossible. Whitman sat on curriculum committees. He wrote recommendation letters. He had friends on the school board. Who would believe a black kid over a respected white teacher? Still, Jamal filed a grade appeal. Whitman's response was swift. He called Jamal into his office and closed the door. "You're making a very big mistake," Whitman said coldly. "Colleges don't like troublemakers." Jamal met his eyes. "I just want what I earned." Whitman smiled, thin and cruel. "Be careful, Jamal. Know your place." That night, Jamal almost gave up. But what he didn't know was that someone had been watching closely. Principal Elaine Morrison had been in education for 30 years. She'd seen unfairness before, but something about Jamal's appeal felt different. She pulled his academic record. Straight A's for 4 years. Top percentile standardized scores. Strong performance in every other history class. One failing grade didn't fit, so she requested the exam. And then she requested other students' exams. That's when the pattern emerged. Jamal's answers mirrored or exceeded those of students who received A's. His essays were graded more harshly. Language praising white perspectives was rewarded. Language critiquing power structures was punished. Principal Morrison felt her stomach drop. She brought in an external reviewer. The verdict was clear: bias. But Morrison knew confronting Whitman directly wouldn't be enough. She needed proof, so she sat in on classes, reviewed emails, listened to recorded lessons, and then she found it, an email Whitman sent to a colleague. These kids are being handed opportunities they haven't earned. Lowering standards helps no one. These kids. Morrison exhaled slowly. The table was about to turn. Principal Morrison scheduled a department meeting. Whitman walked in confident, smug, untouchable, until Morrison spoke. "Mr. Whitman," she said evenly, "can you explain why Jamal Carter's answers were marked incorrect when identical answers received full credit?" Whitman laughed dismissively. "Context matters. So does fairness," Morrison replied. She placed the exams side by side. Whitman's face tightened. Then she played an audio clip from class. Whitman's own voice filled the room. Some perspectives are exaggerated. The silence was deafening. Morrison continued, "We've identified consistent grading disparities. This constitutes academic discrimination." Whitman stood abruptly. "This is outrageous." "No," Morrison said calmly. "What's outrageous is abusing authority to limit a student's future." The power had shifted, and Whitman felt it. The school launched a formal investigation. Parents were notified. The board was involved. Media whispers began. Jamal's grade was corrected A+. Scholarship committees were informed of the error. Whitman was placed on administrative leave. When Jamal received his acceptance letter, full scholarship, his mother wept. But the real moment came at the end-of-year assembly. Principal Morrison addressed the school. "Excellence does not belong to one race, one voice, or one narrative," she said. "And any system that tries to decide otherwise will be dismantled." Jamal stood to a standing ovation. Whitman was not there. Years later, Jamal would remember that class, not for the injustice, but for the awakening. He learned that silence protects power, that truth demands courage, and that dignity is not given, it is defended. Whitman's career never recovered. Jamal's life soared, and Roosevelt Preparatory was changed forever. They underestimated him. They tried to erase him. They thought power meant immunity. But injustice always leaves fingerprints. And when the truth is documented, witnessed, and defended, no authority can outrun it. If the story moved you, remember this lesson. Your voice matters. Your work matters. And no one gets to decide your worth. Because sooner or later, the tables always turn. If Jamal's story inspired you, remember, every voice matters, and every story deserves to be heard. Don't miss the next story of resilience and triumph. Subscribe now to our channel, hit the bell, and join us as we uncover the struggles, victories, and truths that too many want to ignore. Your support helps us shine a light on stories that matter. Because when the world tries to silence the truth, we keep telling it.